Hello and welcome to AWS Made Easy. Now, we're the show where we talk about generative AI, FinOps, how to save money on AWS. And today we're doing a really fun AI hackathon. This is based on an idea that came up on one of our internal chat channels. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Dimitri. Dimitri, can you introduce yourself? And let's talk about generative AI and what we're going to do today.
Hi, everyone. I'm the technical manager at CloudFix. I've been working with AWS for more than 5 years, doing all sorts of stuff. And actually, I enjoy doing this because so much is now automated, and you can just generate the templates, deploy stuff really easy. You don't need to remember all the syntax. And we're gonna try building something useful in just one hour, I guess. That's our time limit, Steven.
Yeah, well, we can go a little bit longer. If depends. Ideally 1 hour, but we'll see how between you and I and Claude, how well we can do. So the origin of this idea came from an email thread where Brandon, our CEO, he was asking, he gets so many emails. How can he use AI to sort through all those emails? So we try to think, okay, how can we reduce the scope of this problem? We use Google Suite, so Gmail, Google Drives, that sort of thing. Now, I'll put this up on screen. I'd shared this on LinkedIn and also in an internal chat. I was thinking about how to do this. And what I was thinking was using a Lambda function to download the entire inbox as text. And so that came from my knowledge of when I tried to have all of my Gmail, of using this program called MB Sync, which is a good way of downloading an IMAP inbox. And I had this idea that maybe I could have a Lambda do it every 5 minutes, push new messages to a queue, and then have another Lambda function that would read from the queue and run it through Bedrock. Now, Dimitri, he commented that there's probably an easier way to do that using the Gmail API. So let's talk through the simplified, revised, much more Gmail native plan.
Well, first of all, it might not be more simplified because we'll have to authorize with Gmail APIs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With IMAP, you just need like a login and password, and there you go. But in your schema, I see that the last box is applying labels to emails in Gmail, and for that you still need to authorize with Gmail through the APIs and have those, credentials, tokens, etc., etc. So probably there is no way around this, and it will take some configuration effort. But once we do it, then all the rest will be much simpler, I guess. And the simplification here is that we can use the push notifications from Gmail when new email arrives, and then we can kind of invoke our script to do it.
Okay, so that's a good point. So we're going to take push notifications from Gmail, trigger a Lambda function, and then with the Gmail API, we will have some ID of the message. We can get the text of the message. We can run that through Bedrock. So that way we don't need to be polling the way IMAP does. Now, quick.
But sorry, the first step will be the user gives us a permission to access their inbox, and that's the crucial step. Otherwise, we cannot do anything.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So first step. So in our plan of attack, we're going to make sure we can access a Gmail account programmatically using a token. I've created a demo email account, ameaidemo@gmail.com, and we're going to test that. And ideally, we can have a conversation between ourselves and this one. And we'll say, hey, demo, that's who the first name that this person thinks there is, demo. So we'll just call him demo. Hey, demo, can you get this project done by Thursday? And Bedrock can extract the context of that. You know what? We might have to extract. We don't have to extract the thread, do we? Because the message will have the thread in it.
Oh, I need to look at the docs. I'm not
Well,
sure about that.
I guess we're gonna find out as we go. So first step, authorize this account so we can access it programmatically. And then we're gonna see if we can get it to trigger a Lambda function. And I think once we have the plain text of the email in a variable in a Python or Java Lambda function, then I think we'll be good to go in terms of applying AI and then getting it to possibly have an action based on that. As a quick aside, my very first job as a teenager, I was working for an email hosting company, and this is pre Gmail, and it was called sortonce.com. And the idea being that IMAP was brand new at the time. So it used to be you use a thing called POP, and that was back in the days of Eudora. And I was so engrossed in this world. I used to know how to check my email from Telnet. Like I knew the protocol. So it would have Eudora, and you download a copy of your inbox, and you do all the sorting. But then you might have a work computer and a home computer. You'd sort it in one place, but POP didn't have a way of applying that sorting back to the server. It was just, it was literally like a mailbox. Just envelopes came in and you were sorting it locally. And so the idea of sortonce.com was with this brand new awesome protocol called IMAP, where you can sort your messages into folders and it's reflected back on the server side so that when you sorted your email, you only had to sort it once. Now, unfortunately, that startup, we kind of ran out of steam, but it was really fun. And so I'm glad to now circle back to it 20 years later, 22 years later, to try out AI powered email sorting. So with that intro, let's give it a shot. So Dimitri, what would be your first step? So I know we both are, how to say, lean on AI a bit. So what's our first step here, and how are we going to try it? Should we just fire up a Claude terminal and see if we can get instructions on what to do?
Okay, yeah, we can. Well, always the first step is the hardest one because it's about the naming. We should give it the name.
Oh, all right.
Hopefully, it won't take the whole hour coming up with a name. But
Okay, so you are referencing, there's a great quote. This is by Phil Carlton. So there are only two hard problems in computer science: cache invalidation and naming things. And so we are already at the second hard problem of computer science. Well, why don't we ask Claude to name it?
yeah, we can do. Let's. I use Claude through Cursor.
Okay.
So, but to do something in Cursor, I need a folder, and that needs a name. So, kind of.
Oh gosh. All right. Well,
It's
let's
a
call
look.
this AI email project. Now, do you mind if I put your screen on video and
Yeah,
we'll
no,
see what you do? All right.
I think it's on video. And
Here
actually,
we go.
I played a little bit before this recording, and I
There we go.
already came with the name of Mail Cooker, but I'm not sure this is. This is
Mail.
like something you would like, so I just removed it.
Oh, I'm happy with Mail Cooker.
Okay, let's recreate it. So now we can just open it, and it's an empty. And let's start with the README. And so let's ask Claude that we want. So what we are doing, we are building an AWS Lambda that will have access to Gmail. We'll need the Gmail API credentials. Suggest a best way of getting this. Okay, let's see what it says. So we should create a Google Cloud project. Service account credentials. Interesting. Use credentials. But Can a service account get access to my Gmail inbox? Okay, now it says create OAuth 2.0 credentials. Refresh token. Okay, yeah. So this is our approach.
All right. Well, let's see if I can put this on here. Okay, so this is a brand new Gmail account. Hasn't even received one message yet. So if we go to, where's console.google.com? What were the instructions? We want to go to console.cloud.google.com. Okay, let's try that again. Console.
Can I? Okay.
Okay, so we want to create a new project, right? And we're going to call this Mail Cooker. Let's select that. Now we need to do, let's switch back to our plan of attack here. Do you mind if you share just, I think instead of sharing your whole screen, can you share just the cursor window?
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to go to enabled APIs. I think we want to enable the Gmail API.
Yep.
Enable the Gmail API. And then while that is enabling, let's go over to credentials. Now
then you can click. Yeah.
And now this is what we want, the OAuth client ID. Or do we want a simple API? No, we want OAuth client ID.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you need to configure the consent screen. And for the consent screen, you will need to provide lots of URLs.
Okay, should we do this internal or, well, I'm not in an organization, so let's just do it external.
Yeah.
All right, so hopefully you can now be using Mail Cooker app. Okay, we'll make this person the support. Do we need a logo?
No, you can skip that.
Okay,
but we'll need the app domain, and we'll need authorized domains, and then we'll need a domain for redirects, and all that should be a Lambda URL because it's already HTTPS.
Mm-hmm.
But to get this Lambda URL, we need to deploy a Lambda first. So I suggest we switch back to Cursor, create a dummy Lambda, deploy it, get the URL, and paste it back here.
Okay, so I'll put your screen on, and let's figure that out. Okay, so I'm going to put a little banner up just to remind ourselves of the step that we are on. So right now we are on the create a Lambda function to catch the redirect.
Yep.
Okay, let's put that up. That's what we're doing now. We are creating a Lambda function to catch the redirect. Okay, let's give this a try, see what happens.
So the way I prefer doing it is through Cursor Composer, because we need to create a few files and folders. So let's fire up Cursor Composer. And we want to create, and I also prefer using AWS SAM. And
yeah, same. That's much easier because then you can just use function URL, right? Is that the plan? To make a Lambda with the function URL?
Well, SAM simplifies a few steps, so it's deployment, but it also has a really nice live update. So I can edit the code in Cursor, use all the AI tools in Cursor, and Sam will, in the background, update my Lambda function in the cloud. So
Awesome. Do you
that's a
mind?
really cool feature.
Can we increase the font size a little bit? And then I think that'll make it a lot easier for us to read. Yeah, there we go.
I can.
That's
Okay.
great.
So let's create an Sam app with the Lambda function and function URL.
Should we specify it in Python?
Yep. Use Python 3.11. I always prefer having all the dependencies in the separate Lambda layer. So let's use the layer in the layer folder. Just place requirements txt there. What else? Let's give it a try. Let's see.
Okay, cool.
So it builds a template app py.
Now, what's really cool about using this as opposed to something like typing this into Claude directly, it's actually creating you separate files, and you're not having to copy paste out of that into your editor. It's actually creating the different files for you and the directory structure. Is that right?
Yep. It creates folders, files. So this goes to Gmail access app py. Requirements goes to layer template. YAML is here. Yeah. Well, we can try playing with this.
Okay.
We can save this and accept all, and then just close and close. Would you mind if I decrease font a little bit?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay, it should be enough. So now let's fire up a terminal. Does it output the URL of the? Okay, it outputs the URL. It's so clever. Okay. So now we say Sam build, and what it is doing in the layer, it gets all the requirements. It builds the layer.
It's really neat. Before generative AI, like I always kind of forgot how Lambda layers worked, and so I just go to an old project and teach myself for the 5th time. Okay, how do I do a Lambda layer? Oh, that's how I do a Lambda layer. How do you get? But now with this, it's all tied together.
Yep.
But it's created it. It's created the layer. It's named it.
But it hasn't built it. I think there is. It needs to do something in this dependencies layer thing. So let's ask. Make sure the layer is built from requirements txt. Okay, here it adds these two things to build the layer actually. And now when I do Sam build, it's still not building the layer. Sorry, I had to save the template YAML. Okay, now it. Okay. So. I'm trying to figure out why it failed. It says build method not defined, so it should put it somewhere else. Maybe like this. Let's try it. I don't want to resort to documentation. I wanna. Okay.
Now, when it
So
builds that, is that building it in as a Docker layer, or what is it?
no, it is supposed just to download all these modules
Oh
for a
yeah, and it
specific.
zips it up, right? It puts into a zip file,
Yep.
and okay, yeah, all the steps that you used to have to do manually. Okay,
Okay. Maybe if I don't see it in the artifacts for some reason.
Hmm.
Resources, where interesting. But let's try deploying this, and we'll call it mail cooker. Yes, is one. Confirm changes. No. Yes. Yes. No authentication. Very insecure. Save. Yeah. Let's go. It's gonna deploy something and give us back the URL. It might not work,
So the question is,
but
will
at
it build
least
the layer and tie it together properly? Well, it looks good so far.
when it look, it uploaded only one artifact for some reason. Or no, it uploaded two artifacts, but I don't see that it built the layer with all these requirements.
Hmm. So this is an issue with the template.yaml, where the layer is not properly pointing to the requirements.txt.
It should not point. There should be some instructions for Sam to actually build the layer from requirements text. I don't remember exactly which parameters there should be, but I thought that these things should be enough.
Yeah, it seems like there's a
But
layer, and if the layer has a this is what I'm looking at. I just asked Claude that question. It looks like the properties, it needs a layer name, compatible runtime. Hmm.
uh, okay, so I'm just opening this link, and it said internal server error, which I believe is due to the layer problem, because we are in the code, we are importing these things, and so it's no surprise it fails.
Yep. So that should come from the layer.
Yep. I'll check the other project to see how exactly it's done. Maybe it's not the best way of doing it, but for the sake of time, I mean, we could ask, we could try to ask Claude. Yeah. Okay. So it should be like this. And now if we build it, you see, now it does resolve dependencies. It is actually collecting all those libraries.
I see. Okay, so now it's using pip to do all the downloading, and it'll package up all those files into a zip.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
How did we call it? We call it mail cooker. Yep, this one, I guess. Yeah, now we can do some deploy.
And because you've already done -- guided, it'll pull up those default settings that you accepted last time.
Correct. It takes the settings from the SAM config terminal, and you can look it up here. So the stack name is mail cooker. Now it has uploaded everything there.
It's interesting. This is a quick, meta comment. You had to have some knowledge of how this worked to like know. Okay, it was uploading a layer, but the layer was too small, right? So you're still using your knowledge in order to kind of debug or guide this.
Correct. But sometimes I get lazy and I try, relying fully on Claude or ChatGPT. But in this case, I knew exactly what I needed, and I immediately saw that there is a problem, that I'm not getting what I need. So let's try this URL now. I'm trying it in external browser, and I can actually send you the URL.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Into the chat. So
All right, I see it.
Yeah, so now it said could not connect to the endpoint URL, and I don't know. We'll see what it does next, but at least it works. It doesn't fail with internal server error.
Oh, interesting. So inside, it's trying to use secrets manager. So let's look at the code. Because it says cannot connect to secrets manager your AWS region. Well, let's, for the sake of speed, let's hard code the secret in there. So our secret is going to be okay. So it ran this code because it tried to fill in your secret name, your AWS region. So maybe what we can do is we can get rid of secrets manager, and I can now generate the
credentials.
The credentials. Okay, so is the URL that you just gave me, this is going to be my redirect?
Yeah, you should use this URL for everything. You can add some folder names or whatever after the last slash.
All right, well, I'm going to make the app domain. Here, I'll put mine on the screen. I'm going to make the app domain /home.html. I'm going to make this privacy.html. We can fill those out later. We'll make this tos.html. Now, domain. When a domain is used on the consent screen, it must be pre-registered here. Whew. Okay, so does this... The URL here is
It is the domain name.
So should we just add that one?
Yeah, the whole thing. No, I guess the long one.
All right, understood. There we go.
I think you should remove the HTTPS and
must be a domain. Must be a top private domain.
Oh, okay, interesting. Then on AWS, then.
Okay, add domain. There we go. Developer contact is going to be the same one, ame.ai.demo@gmail.com. Okay, so now scopes. What scopes
you need to add. Yeah. Choose rows per page 100. There is no search in this. There is a filter, but now you can. Gmail scopes will need the read-only Gmail scope. It's a little bit below.
Auth Gmail read-only. View your email messages and settings. Okay. So let's.
And you'll need the labels. Labels also. There is Gmail labels a little bit below.
There we go. Okay.
Below. Yeah.
Okay. So we've updated that, and we'll do save and continue. I think we're okay. Well, publishing status is testing. Only test users are able to access the app. I think we're okay there.
If you
Or should we add ourselves?
let's add ourselves for
Okay.
for fun of it.
And then I'll add.
I've sent you my email into
Perfect.
chat.
Add that.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got those. Now let's save and continue. Okay, so we've got a home page. We've got all the stuff. We've got the scope is read email and set labels. We've got ourselves as test users. Okay. That looks okay. So that's our OAuth consent screen. Now we can go back to credentials and do create credentials, OAuth client ID. Let's just make this a desktop app.
Why? I think it should be a web app.
Oh, web app. Sorry. Yeah, web app. Which I think web client 1 is okay. Authorize redirect URI. That's going to be the URL that we just invented.
Mhm.
And then JavaScript origins. Do we need anything for this? I don't think we do. Or we're not planning on using this from a browser, are we? So I think we're okay.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay, hit create. Okay, so now we've got this great data, which will probably change before we publish this episode. But we've got this client ID.
Could you just download JSON?
Yes. And I will
and send it over to me, and I'll put it inside the Lambda.
No problem. Now, shout out to a friend of mine. I'm going to use. There's a program that my friend Darko wrote called Shook, which means throw. And so I'm going to use his program. It's going to upload this to S3 and create a temporary signed URL, which I'm now pasting over to you. To check out Shook, it is written in Rust. Pretty handy for being able to quickly upload a file. Okay, you should have that now.
I have it, and I'm gonna move it.
Okay, so we have a JSON file with our credentials now. Okay.
Yep. And I'll just create it here with GCP JSON name.
Okay, rather than using that entire long name. Okay.
Okay, so now we can use. We can actually.
Well, we should be able to tell AI to just load gcp.json and get the credentials from there, right? And therefore, that will stop it from trying to use Secrets Manager.
Yeah, let's try. Let's do like this. Load GCP creds from local file GCP JSON. So it loads the credentials from GCP JSON.
So I really like that. So if those of you who haven't used Cursor before, it's giving you a diff, right? The green is what it's about to change. And so before you accept this change, you can kind of see what's going away. And so we're seeing it's getting rid of this whole variable, secret name, region name, and it's replacing that with just opening that file in read-only mode and then using json.load. So if you're a Python programmer, you've done this a million times, json.load that file, and now you can load. What it's doing is it's going to load, going to use the Google library that we loaded to do from service account info. It's going to try and load those credentials. Now this isn't a service account, this is OAuth, but let's try it.
I see some errors already. Interesting. But anyway, it says missing docstring. We can do the sync, as I said. So instead
So that
of
way it's
it
okay.
will
So
keep our, as soon as I update the file, the source file, it will update the Lambda function code in the cloud.
got it. Yeah, and that's it. Used to be like when you do a full SAM deploy, it would have to tear down the old resource, do the new one, and sometimes we get to 99% and then roll back. With this one, as long as you're not making huge changes, right? You save and it kind of hot reloads the Python in the same Lambda. That's basically what's happening with sync? Is that right?
Yep, it doesn't use CloudFormation to update the Lambda. It uses just some faster way. So we add watch. Oh, sorry. So it will use Lambda, gateway, step functions to upload your code without the CloudFormation deployment.
All right, let's do it.
There is a parameter to skip the dependency layer updates. So I'm not using it now.
And so that's for like if we know we're not adding new dependencies, then that can be even faster.
Correct. So now it has built it. And now it is. The first time it updates it using the CloudFormation, but later in the subsequent updates it will use it should do it much faster. Okay, so now if I save, you see it started syncing.
Yeah. And if we hit refresh on that URL, something different should happen. Interesting. Okay. Service account info is not in the expected format.
This is what it said.
Yeah. So I wonder. I'll put it on the screen for a second. This is what I'm seeing. Service account info is not in the expected format. Missing fields, token URI, client email. I wonder if we have to tell it that it's an OAuth credential instead of a service account credential. If that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, look, this says from service account info.
Okay, I'll put your screen back on.
Yeah, so here we see the credentials. It says from service account info, but instead we should say this is from OAuth. GCP JSON contains OAuth creds.
Okay, cool. So then it's figured out the right change.
I'm not so sure. I think because there are two types of credentials. There are one credentials for the application, and then for each user, there is a separate set of credentials that we like a user token basically that we're getting for a short period of time when user is authorizing our application to access their data. Let me change the here no dependency layer. I think this is what we should use. Yep. Okay, so it should not update the dependency.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, well, credentials from authorized user info. Let's. I suggest we start from scratch. We just remove everything and
Okay.
and try to generate something that would be in better shape.
Okay.
We need to access Gmail. We need to print last 10 Gmail messages from the user's inbox. For that, we use the auth flow. The application creds are in the local file gcp.json.
And then do we know that that file will get included in the package that becomes the Lambda function, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a very safe way of doing it.
No,
typically,
use secrets manager or some other way, right? Or yeah.
Let's see what it generates. I like the flow already. Set up. Okay, Gmail read only. Client config redirect URIs. Do we have redirect URIs? Oh, we have it. Look, we have it here. Now it looks for token JSON.
Does that get written? How does that?
It's get written, and I think we will have to replace this with DynamoDB or S3 or some way of storing these tokens for users. But for now, we can try see how it works. Okay, let's see if it will work. I don't know.
All right. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's see what happens.
Some tools just find AWS cost savings and make you do all the work. Visualizing cost opportunities is great, but that's not enough. CloudFix, on the other hand, actually delivers those savings for you. And you don't need to worry, because CloudFix uses AWS recommended savings techniques. It fixes, not just finds. It's the easiest way to save money on AWS. It's 100% automatic and risk-free. And the best part of all, it works non-stop. Stop overspending on AWS and click on the link to start saving now.
And we are back. So let's see what's happening. Okay, we do Lambda. Client secrets must be for a web or installed app. I thought this was for a web app.
Client 14 from client config web. It's web. I don't know, maybe, bless you. Maybe this is not needed. Let's try. Interesting. Let's take this error and see what the AI thinks about it. Well, this doesn't make sense. But I mean, we remove, we go deeper under web, and here we add web again in the structure.
That's inconsistent, right? Yeah, I see.
Okay, so the way I do it, sometimes I take, I go to GitHub and just search it for examples. I'm just currently opening the search to see.
No problem. You know, maybe IMAP was the way to go. This is what I always get scared of with Google projects, is the authentication so hard. But I mean, that's part of OAuth. Like, I don't know. I've stared at the OAuth diagram many times. I've always concluded that I'm better off writing backend APIs.
Yes. Scopes of scopes. Okay, let's ask the chat. Okay, so it has client config, any scopes. Google Client Secrets format. Well, I'm trying to resort to Google search now. Stack Overflow.
No problem. I'm going to, just out of curiosity, while you're doing that, I'm going to create an IMAP service password just to compare, to see. Because at the end of the day, I want to have both implementations and understand which we can do. So I'm going to enable IMAP.
Could you apply labels through IMAP API?
That's what I'm not. That's actually a really good question. I'm not sure if I can. Let me find out. I'm asking Claude? Can Gmail labels be applied via IMAP? Yes. Gmail translates labels to IMAP folders. Create a new label is the same thing as creating a new IMAP folder. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't I might try this in parallel and let's see what happens. We can compare the pros and cons. Because we're running into the third hard problem of computer science. Let's see. Oh, I didn't realize this. In June 2024, the option to choose enable IMAP or disable IMAP won't be available. IMAP is always on, but you can't set up app passwords anymore. I didn't know that. It's still sign in with Google.
So we cannot use login and password?
No, so it used to be that you could do this thing called an app passwords. But I don't think they. Oh, I see. You have to turn on two-factor authentication first, and then you can use app passwords. So let me try doing that. Let's see. Oh, okay. I've got the app password working now for create. Okay, so we could try. Let's see.
And I've got it.
Oh, you
I've
got it?
almost working.
Okay.
Yeah, let me. So the change that I had to make was to pass the client config without destructuring to web and just use web here.
Okay.
It seemed to work. Let me
Let's
try
deploy.
it again. Yeah, it is deployed. You can try that. You can try the link and actually you can stream it. You can show your screen how you follow the link and what happens
Yeah.
next.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow. Okay, so let's go back to there. I will put this on screen. Oh, wait a second here. Okay, so I'm going to. This is the URL which is deployed. I am putting this on screen right here. Now let's put in this tab right here. And now, now we get a redirect. I want to use this account. Access blocked on .aws has not completed the Google verification process. This app is currently being tested and can only be accessed by developer approved.
You need to include the Emmy AI demo in the list of
Yes,
developers.
that's right. Okay, so if I go to credentials and I go to, let's see, over here. It wasn't in here, was it? Was it OAuth consent? Oh, yeah, here we go. This is to add users. So I'm going to add itself. Oops. ame.ai.demo@gmail.com. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to try that again. Can I hit refresh? No. Okay. So let's get that URL again. Go here. Try it here. And you would access. Okay. This is fine. It's currently being tested. We continue. Now this is the scope that we told it is view your email, continue, and that's it.
Oh, you need to choose the account. Yeah.
I think I hit continue, and it's redirected back to that page.
Oh, yeah.
But okay. I should have a token in here, right? Or in the if I was to inspect the page, right? I should have a token in here somewhere.
Correct. We should catch the redirect with the token and I'll add some logging.
So in the meantime, I've created this app-specific password. So this will allow us to use this Gmail as IMAP without giving my real password. This is a neat Google feature. It's kind of insecure, right? Because this is just like a regular username and password. It's kind of a backdoor into the Gmail account. That's why we're blurring it out, so you can't start sending out emails from this. But that's what the app-specific password is. And you can see this IMAP AI in my app-specific password. And so the cool thing is you can delete this, and it wouldn't affect anything. So we're going to try both approaches and see how that goes. Okay, I'm going to take my screen off. What are you working on here? Oh, is that catching the redirect?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the redirect, and I'll try to take it and actually here, let's say, catch the redirect from all event equals this.
I have noticed that I am not moving at the moment. Are you seeing that?
Sorry,
It
you're not
seems
moving?
like my camera is frozen.
Oh, you can.
That's weird.
Maybe you can restart it.
Give me one moment. I will be right back. Let's see what's going on here. Huh, that's odd. Let's figure out what's going on. What is going on here? Stop. That is really odd. I think that my video switcher must have done an update. Okay, let's just write that off as a disturbance in the force.
So while you were away, now you're moving. Oh, that's great. So I did generate some code. So I asked it to get the token, and it actually does fetch the token for the user. And then it uses it uses to access Gmail and get the messages, and then get the last 10 messages from the inbox.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I'm gonna save it and deploy it and see if it works.
Oh wow! Okay. So I'm going to go over to that URL.
Oh.
Whoa. That's pretty cool.
Do you see the message?
Yeah. I put it on screen.
Yeah.
This is great. Okay. Oh, what just happened? There it is. Okay. Yep, see that? All right, now let me try. I'm going to make sure that this is there. Okay. I'm going to try sending myself an email and seeing if it shows up here. So let's send a new message to this fresh account, AI AME demo. Okay, so I'm going to hit send. Message is sent. So let's see. I should see a new message. The new message indicator here should increase. Huh, I wonder, it just... Oh, I see. Set it to the wrong address. ame.ai.demo@gmail.com. And let's send that. Okay. That's sent. And now I should be able to see it in Gmail in a second.
Yep.
Oh, internal server error if I hit refresh. Maybe I have to reauthorize.
I guess so.
Let's try that. Okay, so I go back to, let's see, can you, is my screen sharing? Yep. Okay, so
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Continue. Allow the trust. There it is. A tribute to one of the great classic internet memes of all time. Okay.
So now we have the options to either work on, push notifications from Gmail, or we can jump straight to Bedrock and actually get the last 10 messages from inbox or last 100 messages, process them through Bedrock, apply labels, and that would be our proof of concept.
Well, what I think what will be more interesting, and thinking about the time, why don't we, with this show, let's try applying Bedrock to the last messages, to the last 10 messages. But is there a cheap and simple way that we can keep track of which ones that we've processed?
We can apply a label called process.
Okay.
Cooked.
Cooked. I like that. Cooked. All right. So we're going to apply a label called cooked. Now, in our code, can we see the cooked status? Or sorry, the label?
I think so.
Okay, so let's have a look at I wonder how we do. Okay, so what API are we using to actually look at the messages? Is this the
messages list? It's Gmail API.
Okay. Okay, so now let's. What I'm going to do, I'm going to apply a label to my message, and let's see if we can see it. I'm going to create a new label called fried, because it's not cooked properly. And I've labeled this as fried.
I will start the composer, reset it, and then I will say show all the labels of each email and see what it suggests doing.
And so I have not been a user of Cursor. I usually use either Bedrust or Claude Console, and so I really like this diff feature, because I've been basically I manually diff in my head, and it's pretty error prone, as most things that go through my head are. So seeing this diff right here, okay, so it's actually extracting an element called label IDs and then adding that. Okay, let's.
Yep. What it is doing here? Label. Okay, but let's give it a try. Labels. Okay, now we can try. You can show your screen.
Okay, all right. I am swapping the screen over. Okay, so I have this label called fried, which is cooked but not properly. And I'm going to go refresh here. Internal server error. I think that's because I haven't authorized since the app has changed. So I'll restart the URL here, reauthorize, continue. Labels, unread, important. This, I bet, is fried. This is an identifier. And somewhere in there is going to be a mapping of this label 383530 blah, 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 to the actual word.
Yeah, we can ask it about it.
And in order to test that, I'm going to add one more label. Deep fried. And I'm going to refresh the app, and we're going to get another one of those. Yep, there it is. So we've got two of these custom labels, and so now we need to figure out, using Gmail code, how to. Well, I suppose that we could basically work out the label ID. Like we could figure out which one's which based on what we just did, but we should be able to figure out how to do this properly.
So, there is this thing called lambda caching. So you can cache the results or some values in temporary folder on the lambda function or in memory. And I suggest, and this could be used as a short-term cache, and I suggest we cache the token in lambda cache, so that when you refresh the URL, we don't try to get this token again from GCP, because it only allows us to get it once. On the second attempt, it fails.
Yeah,
so I suggest we implement. Yeah, we implement this caching because it will make our testing much faster.
Okay, that sounds really good. Well, how about this? Why don't we take another quick break, and we come back, let's implement the testing. Okay, so just to summarize where we're up to this point. We've gotten the credentials from Google. We have a Lambda that can see can see all of the email, and we've decided on a strategy of using a Gmail label, which is equivalent to an IMAP folder called cooked, to specify if we've processed. So what we're going to do is, once we have this label issue worked out, we're going to look for messages in the inbox, the most, say, 10 recent or 20 recent or 100 recent that are not cooked, and then we'll cook them. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will keep going.
Some tools just find AWS cost savings and make you do all the work. Visualizing cost opportunities is great, but that's not enough. CloudFix, on the other hand, actually delivers those savings for you. And you don't need to worry, because CloudFix uses AWS recommended savings techniques. It fixes, not just finds. It's the easiest way to save money on AWS. It's 100% automatic and risk-free. And the best part of all, it works non-stop. Stop overspending on AWS and click on the link to start saving now.
All right, we are back from the break. So just to summarize, to recap, we had figured out how to get messages and labels. So now the next step in our process in the hackathon is to use Lambda caching in order to cache the token. That way we don't have to authorize the app every single time. And once we've gotten that, we're going to figure out how to transform the labels into human readable labels. And then I think we can dump the email into Bedrock. And then once we've processed it, we're going to apply a label called cooked, because this is indeed the mail cooker. All right, Dimitri, I'm going to put your screen back on and let's see where we are.
So I think that each time we're getting these parameters in the event, we start the process of fetching the token, and this is where it fails when we do it for the second time. So we should cache these, and the way to cache them, I think something like that should work. Like we could say creds equals none initially, and creds not. Oh, sorry, I forgot how to write the syntax. And
is it is not none?
Yeah, I'm creds not none. Why does it rewrite me every single? Why does it want to rewrite this? This is a no.
That seems, and it didn't do what you asked it to.
Yeah. So let's try to do it like this. Oops.
And creds is none. I thought it was is not none. And then, so the question is, with this, I'm going to ask Claude about Lambda caching in Python. Show a brief code example. So is the idea that this variable will be accessible? Oh, okay. Interesting. I might share this part of my screen just to understand Lambda caching. So it's basically, as you're doing, using a global variable. So here, I'll present this on my screen quickly. Present, share screen. Let's share this guy. Okay, so Lambda offers a way to cache data between invocations using global variables. This can be useful for reducing cold start times. So this is cache data, cache expiry, and it's okay. If it's a none, then you go and query. Otherwise, you can use the cache. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so putting this back on the screen. Okay, I see. Oh, yeah, okay, I get it. So I was giving you the wrong advice. So, okay, so if and creds is none. Got it. Okay, so now it's going to only... So do you need the global part?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, yep. I see. It's in my example as well. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So I'm deploying this.
Now, does this work for where is this cached? This is cached on the server side?
Well, Lambda is basically a Docker container.
Mm-hmm.
When it starts a Python process. And this Python process is handling the requests. And as long as the Docker container is running, the process is running too, and it retains its like global variables, its memory.
I see. So
So
there's
it's
one Python interpreter that gets the creds variable. This may already be set. I see. Okay. So this only works for the single user use case at the moment. Is that right?
correct,
Okay.
because if the other user goes to that URL, he'll get the access to the wrong mailbox.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know for right now. But let's see if we can get this to work, and we will let's get it to work first, then we can design around this later. Okay. So we have synced this. Do you want me to see if it works?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, can you?
I'm
Do you have?
thinking about a better way, but we probably could put it into a cookies. Put this token into the cookies, and instead of caching it, this way it would prevent the other user from getting access to the mailbox.
And then ideally, we wouldn't really need a web interface at all, right?
We need a web interface just to authorize the app to access your mailbox.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know how long the token lives?
I think it's configurable, should be configurable, but I think you need to refresh it
Understood.
either daily or once every 7 days. I don't remember. I read something about that, but don't
Okay.
remember.
All right. Well, let's see what we could do here. Yeah. So what do you think?
Let's try to start the interpreter, refresh it, and say no. The composer. Let's say store creds in cookies. Let's see what it does.
I feel like I'm trying to load that URL, and I'm in an infinite set of captchas. I think I'm on my fourth one. But I'm getting really good at identifying crosswalks.
So what's happening?
Oh, I'm trying to load the URL, and I'm literally on my fourth captcha. Now I'm looking for fire hydrants.
Oh, capture. Okay, I see captures.
There we go. Now I'm not a robot. Okay, let's try that again. Double checking my password. Oh, and it's two-factoring me. I need to go get my phone. I'll be right back. Okay. Wow, it really doesn't like whatever we've been doing. This is doing another captcha. Okay, another text verification. Okay. Okay, I think I've passed through the gauntlet now. Okay. That is working. I'm still seeing what we saw before. It's the last 10 messages from inbox. I can put it on my screen.
But try refreshing, because that version should work when refreshing.
Okay, I'll hit refresh and I get internal server error. Maybe I started it too early. Okay, demo AI account. Okay. Now I'm going to try refreshing. Internal server error.
So should we try to make it work with Lambda cache, or just jump to the cookies? right away.
Let's do the cookies. Well, I'm not as experienced with front end stuff, so I think whatever you find easier.
I think using the Lambda cache to cache the user token is really a bad pattern.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do cookies.
So yeah, cookies is a little bit better. You probably would want to store some session token instead of the actual token, but storing the actual token, it's more or less okay. It's still secure.
Okay, well, let's give that a try and see how it goes.
Yeah. So Claude has generated a bunch of code to serialize into base 64 and back, stored in the cookies, and then we have this response with a set cookie. Hopefully it works. So let's say accept all, close it, and let's see now what we have. Last 10 messages. So it uses a create response. Okay.
Okay, so create response and set a cookie, and then we're testing for the existence of that cookie as well. Okay.
Oh, it also implemented the refresh. Interesting.
Well, okay. I will put my screen on and let's give this a try and see what happens. Okay. So clearing the state, going back to the URL. Now authorize the app, continue. And now, okay. So now that worked. Now, is there a way I can inspect and see cookies client side?
Yep, you can just in the console, in the JavaScript console here, you can just type cookie.
Cookies. Cookie store.
No, I'm thinking.
Let's see. Cookie store manager.
Let's ask ChatGPT how to do it. I don't remember. I know that you can access your cookies using JavaScript.
How can I look at cookies using Chrome Inspect? Ooh. Developer tools. Go to the application tab. Okay, let's go to the application tab. Cookies. And it looks like I've got a cookie. And there's a cookie called credentials. Mm-hmm. And this EYJ, so that's the base 64 encoding of the left curly bracket. And so that's telling us that there's a JSON stored in there. Let's have a look. So now if I hit refresh, internal server error. What happened there?
Let me look at the requests. I'm looking. Oh, there was an invalid grant, and it happened line 35.
All right, I'll switch back over to your screen.
Line 35. So for some reason, it was still fetching the token. Event. So let's pick this. Print threads. But we also can Okay. I just wanted to format this JSON, but because it is printed by Python, it has all this.
Oh, it's not real JSON because you got single quotes.
Yeah.
So you have to do JSON.dumps.
Yep. But we can probably do it like this, and then
Yeah, that works. As long as you don't have any magic characters in there, but that looks okay.
yeah. But here are some double quotes. Okay, it's all garbled.
You have to do print JSON.dumps creds.
Yep.
Then you might get some escape characters. Well, let's see what happens.
So here, yeah. So I think the get credentials from cookies did not work properly. So can you retry? So we have some.
I am retrying right now. Let's have a look. Okay, so now I see that. Now I'm going to hit refresh and internal server error.
Yeah,
Let me try that one more time. We expected an internal server error?
We do.
Okay, yeah, because we didn't change it. I think we just printed. Okay, login worked. Refresh did not work.
So this null is the credentials.
Mm-hmm.
So it did not pull the credentials, and we expected it to pull the credentials from the headers. And there should be a cookie header.
Yeah, there it is.
With credentials equal something.
And it looks like the cookie, that EYJ, that's the base 64 encoding that we were looking for.
Yep. So let's give it. Yeah. Could you try once again? I just don't want to have this indent here.
Yeah,
Remove
absolutely. It. Okay. Let me know when.
Still copying. Done.
Okay. I am hitting. Oh, sorry. Not that one. Enter. Okay. Reauthorizing the Gmail account. And then. Okay. That worked. Now I'm going to hit refresh. And internal server error. But now you should see in the log.
Yeah, so my idea was to get it in this format. Just copy it. And then tell the AI handle this here's a sample event to handle. And the problem was in this. Here's sample event to handle.
I see. And so by giving it this JSON, now it can compare with what it's doing. And so rather than you having to deconstruct this thing, it's just figuring out for you. I see. And now it's doing the split properly. See that the credentials equals. And now it's getting everything on the right-hand side, decoding that. That looks hopeful.
Yeah, so I just wanted to show this technique, like giving it an example of the JSON to parse and make sure that it does the right thing. Let's see if this works now. I'm again deploying.
Okay, I'll put my screen on and I will be ready.
Done.
Okay, so I hit enter, and it's going to authorize me with Google. Let's see. No, I go straight to internal server error. Start a new tab. Straight to internal server error. I wonder if I should clear my cookies.
No, the cookies are okay. The way we parse them is not okay.
Okay, so straight.
So what's going on here? Object of type credentials is not JSON serializable at 18. Oh, it got credentials from the cookies, but it could not dump it as a JSON. So it's our logging.
So we literally just
why
comment out that print statement, right? And we should be okay.
Yep. I'm wondering why it doesn't work. So creds. Okay.
So typically when you run into this error, there is something, maybe it's a date or some object built into the Python dictionary that does not have a JSON class. And so that's actually used. Yeah, there we go. So default equals string. That's going to just.
That should fix it. But okay, we can. You can actually try just refreshing once again and see if it works.
Hey, I got a bit of JSON code. This is what I got. So this looks like our web page, but the JSON version of it.
This looks like.
I mean, this is all the mail, but it's in JSON.
Interesting.
Refresh is working. And I'll email it something else. Let me send it another message.
Yeah, it refactored our response code, and instead of HTML, it now produces JSON. But we can live with that, or we can just work. I don't know.
I'm happy with that. I mean, we don't really need to show it. Let's see. I'm going to refresh. Pretty print.
Okay, so refresh is working, but now we lost the HTML formatting. But we can bring it back with just one AI prompt. And that happened when AI was refactoring our code and moving the HTML generation into separate function. It just for some reason it dumped it all.
Now, I think what we should do, while we've got this unlabeled message here, let's figure out exactly what label is the. Let's make a label called cooked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then what I'm going to do, we can figure out which one that is. So I think what I want to do is go over to, not that, go over here, and I can label as cooked. Create new label. We're going to call it cooked. And now if I hit refresh on this page, we should see a new one come up here. Let's pretty print that. And this must be our cooked label. So I will send that to you.
So my suggestion is that we try to open the Google documentation page around labels and feed this page into Cursor to give some exact context for AI to do what's needed. So could you search Google, do a Google search while you're sharing?
Okay. So we want to look at Google, Gmail, labels, API.
API, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Labels.
Types of labels. Okay, so messages.modify. This is not as helpful. Custom label is what we want to look for.
Yep.
Google. Okay. Gmail API custom label to documentation. Users.labels, REST resource. Users.labels. Labels are used to categorize messages and threads. We have an ID, a name. So this is the immutable ID of the label, and the name is the string. So it looks like this is what we want, is the users.labels.
Yeah,
And we're going to look up. Yeah.
Could you show me this? Could you send me this URL into chat?
Yes. Okay.
So I'm taking this URL again, launching the composer, refreshing, and let's say instead of labeled IDs, show labeled names, and then I press the symbol and paste the link, and it should get the information from this link and use it.
So this is adding it to the context window of the AI.
Correct.
So it's downloading it, stripping out the HTML. Wow. Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
that's a lot of removing.
Yes. Minimize code impact. It still wants to remove all our code. But what exactly it's trying to do? It creates a get labels message. Service users labels. Okay, we could use this.
Mm-hmm.
So if I press accept, it accepts just one change or everything? No.
Yeah, we don't want to accept everything. Can you modify the prompt to say just give me a function to get the label as that takes the service as an input and gives me a label as output or something like that?
Yeah, I want to actually.
I mean, the get labels function is fine if we can somehow break it down into steps.
Okay, give me just the function to map label IDs to label names. So why don't I see the diff? Interesting.
Did it already? Did it already insert it?
Hopefully not, because it would mean it had. I think.
Did we already accept it? Yeah, it did make it. Well, since it's there, we might as well just save it and try it, right?
Yeah, but I typically prefer to commit into repo.
Yeah, of course.
Because otherwise, getting back to the working state is sometimes hard. But the composer tends to make so many changes at once.
Yeah,
so
it
probably we shouldn't have used.
It doesn't seem happy right now. I'm just getting one word: null. Yeah, so ideally we would have committed the code and say, "Oh, this isn't working," and then you could do a git checkout. But yeah, flying fast and loose today.
Let's go back here. And let's just change the output. Let's just change this. I use Control K. I'll copy the instead of labeled IDs, return labeled names. This is much nicer change.
Yeah, this is 3-4 line. Oh, what is it? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 real lines. Much more comprehensible.
So
Okay,
how does it?
That looks great. So let me put this on the screen. I'll share this. But yeah, that's what we want. So adding this to the screen, we've got, now we can see labeled our inbox and cooked. So now what we want to do, we can basically, we have snippet. Now I wonder if snippet is going to, does snippet give us the whole message?
Nope.
Probably not, right? Because
Yep.
if we had a big message, so I'm going to generate a much longer, generate a sample long email.
But wait a second. Does it give you HTML back or JSON back?
It is giving me JSON. So I'm seeing, do you see my screen? Yeah, that's what it's giving me. So I'm going to now send a much longer email that is going to then test this out and see how much snippet gives us, or if we need to actually get the whole message somehow. Okay, here we go. I've sent it a long corporate sounding email with a to-do list. And so I'm going to hit refresh. I got to hit there we go. Okay, so here we go. As we as we approach the final quarter of our fiscal year. Yeah, okay. So that's not the whole thing. So now we need to figure out, how do we get the full text of the message from the message ID, and also stripping out HTML, because it could be an HTML message. I think we should support plain text initially.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and we might be able to just use Bedrock to say, if there's HTML, strip it out, right? I don't think we have to overthink it.
Yep. Yeah. But first there is a problem in the code, because if we go through the authorization flow for the first time, it is outputting HTML instead of JSON.
Oh, I see.
Oh no, wait a second. It creates response. It has HTML output. Yeah, so we still have all this HTML.
Oh, we're just not using it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if this, okay, else if we don't have valid credentials, then it returns create response with empty HTML headers. JSON dumps output. Okay. Make it always return. So what do we want, JSON or HTML?
I think JSON. JSON's a lot
Okay.
easier to what we're going to be dealing with anyway.
Instead of snippet, use full message text. Let's see if it can actually do it without providing the context with API documentation.
So is this get message text? Is this an API call? Let's look at this function.
No, that's a function that is decoding.
I see. So it already has the data locally. It's not calling.
Seems like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just decoding. So if should I apply this transformation first? I wonder.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, let's. Oh, okay. So now it shows me. It removes this. Okay, let's remove this. I agree. Okay, I agree with this. Yes. Yes. Subject sender. Yes.
Yeah. So now it's not trying to make HTML anymore.
Yep.
This is a very clean way of doing it.
Yes. Okay, I think we applied everything there. Now let's apply from here. Apply to entire file. So what should I accept? Oh, that let's apply this accept. Why? Yes, get message text. Yes, snippet, remove snippet. Yes, yes. Here, format full. Okay, so this is where we tell Google to give us the full message.
I see. Okay. So we are modifying the API call, but that we're only doing it once. Or are we doing it per message? No, we're doing it per message. Okay, that makes sense.
Email mime text. We might need to update the requirements in the layer. So do we need something else? For some reason, it doesn't suggest. Let's see. Email.mime.text.
It seems. Does it say it's a standard import?
Well, I have this linter that is.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
that is giving me some recommendations. So Linter is going crazy with AI generated code. Okay, let's see if it works now. I'll try refreshing. Ooh. I still got the snippet for some reason.
Yeah, same. That's what I'm getting, a snippet.
Do we have snippet? Oh, we have the snippet, but
Oh, interesting. So we've what are we? Where are we storing the full text?
so we have this function get message text. So
Okay, so we
message
actually just
text.
want to use. Okay, so we just need to add that to the output structure. Oh, message. I wonder why we're getting snippet. Is it one of those? What do you call it? Is it a difference between when we are in credentials for the first time or refresh credentials?
Yep, sounds like that. So here we should also, let's tell it, return full message text rather than snippet. Well, lots of refactoring is due because we have it's a one ugly long function now, so we need to refactor it. But before we do that, let's see if it works.
Yeah. Okay. Whoa. Okay, that worked great. So now I see an enormous message for full text, and then this test message should have 3 discrete action items in it. So I'll put it here. This queue for strategic initiatives and action items that should be able to, this should have 3 things for Mr. Demo to be able to do, or Mrs. Demo, or Miss Demo, whoever it is. Demo should have 3 things to do.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I was just looking at the code and trying to understand how did we end up with 2 distinct branches that produce outputs in different formats. So we probably should choose one output format. Now we have the message IDs.
I mean, this is really cool. Just what we've gotten done in this amount of time, right? All of a sudden, we have this Gmail mailbox. We've got a label. We've got a strategy. I'm pretty happy with where we're at, because for now, it's like the next step is pretty clear, right? We give it a prompt, inject full text into it, and then some decision logic based on that prompt. So I don't know how you're feeling. I know we've done. We're going on 2 hours. Should we save this one for a future episode, or like a next day, or what do you think?
Well, I can go longer.
All right,
we can try Bedrock.
All right, let's do. You know what? I'm going to grab a drink and let's do it. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna power up.
Okay.
It is 1:20 a.m., but that has never stopped a good programmer before. So let's do it. Thank you. This has been really fun. All right, I'm really excited about this. Okay, let's take a 1 second break, and we'll be right back.
Yep.
I'm sorry if I look like I'm wincing. I'm gonna have to have an operation. It's oh man. Not okay. All right, so let's have a look. Okay.
So I suggest we do the refactoring, because look, it extracts the subject from the payload headers of the message by looping through them and finding something that has a subject, and then it extracts the sender again by looking for a from header. And this is done in one branch. In another branch, we do the label names. So you either get a subject or label names. So we need to combine this logic into one function, and let's see if AI can do it. And I'm thinking about doing it using a composer.
Should we git commit first?
Or
just go for
it? We can just maybe do a CP. CP app py. So from the MS-DOS times, let's have a backup copy.
All right.
And so now we could, go on.
Okay, so with Composer, we're gonna load everything into the or I guess this loads all of app.py into the context.
Yes. Use a separate function to generate the output, which should contain label names, subject, and the sender properties. Messages output. Place 64 could not be satisfied. Bota 3 we don't need because it's already in the Lambda. And the email, you cannot satisfy email as well. Okay. So now it should be working in the same way. If you launch it for the first time, or just refresh.
This looks pretty good. I think I'm getting a much better, more consistent JSON. So I have ID, subject, sender, full text, and labels. So just showing what I have here. Here it is: ID, subject, sender, full text, labels. And now the last bit of logic, which it's amazing. All of this last 2 hours was get to this, literally dealing with OAuth with Google. And now we have the in a way, the most simple part, I think, in terms of logic, but kind of the most groundbreaking in terms of use of AI is going to be if we are missing this cooked label and it's in the inbox, then let's put the full text into Bedrock, and we're going to have to come up with a good prompt saying, let's just say extract action items addressed towards, well, actually, for now, we can just say extract action items and arrange in a bulleted list.
Yeah. Okay. Let's fire up the composer.
Okay, I'll put your screen. There we go.
Yep. So use LangChain and Bedrock for each message that doesn't have cooked label. Send it to Bedrock using Claude 3.5 model. I'll look up the exact model name.
Yeah, I'll get that for you.
Okay. Using the following prompt, and the prompt is given the email message. Given the email message, produce a list of action items. Return only the JSON in the following format. Action item text. So how do we want it? Do we want?
Why don't we have it? Let's make an outer level object, which is like action item list. Yeah, and then let's give it that list.
Yeah. Oops.
That way it's not going to complain that it's invalid JSON.
So how can I stop it?
You know, it probably is going to figure it out. Oh, you need to give it the right Claude model ID, but we can. That's okay. You cancel it. Okay.
I just wanted to make it like complete.
Yeah. Okay. I put the model ID in the chat. Interesting. So okay, so you would use LangChain rather than like the Bedrock Converse API.
I prefer using LangChain because it allows me to switch between the models easily, and I believe it's becoming a de facto standard for accessing LLMs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and certainly we're in the there's more than one way to do it. It's LangChain. Yeah, absolutely. There we go. We got the Claude 3 sonnet. We'll swap out that model ID. Oh, interesting. It didn't.
Yeah. Create a new file. Bedrock PI. So let's.
Now, interesting also, I like how one of the things about the Anthropic models is that they said that they're very well trained on using this XML or pseudo XML syntax to delineate blocks. And so if you're coming from something like ChatGPT, we might use a markdown like syntax. Seems like the Anthropic models do really well with this XML syntax.
Yep, and this is why I tend to use it by default. So it creates a separate Bedrock PY. So at least we don't put all the stuff into the app PY file. Here, process messages, processed output. Okay, so I like this change. What does it do for Bedrock? Well, I guess we should just give it a try. Where's the prompt here? Where's my prompt? Oh, okay.
Yep.
This is my prompt exactly as I had it. Email content, input variables, prompt template. Okay, using the default credentials. It could work actually. The only thing that we would need to update the template, the SAM template, to have the permissions for Bedrock, that to give Lambda permissions to invoke Bedrock models, because I think by default the SAM permissions wouldn't let us do that. Why does it remove the runtime?
Did it? Oh, did it?
It updates the memory size.
Why did it put your runtime of your function back to 3.9? That's weird.
Yeah, I didn't ask it to do that. I just asked for this thing. Okay, but perhaps we could events. No. I don't want all these changes.
Yeah, this seems excessive.
Yeah, let's reject it. AppPy I still like. This I still like. So we accept this. AppPy we accept. And then let's just close this composer.
Now, the one thing we also want to add in app.py is to add that cooked label. Otherwise, we're going to keep processing the message every time. But we can figure that out next.
We should add the label after we add the rest of the labels.
Okay.
So we could try it now, but I'm not sure it will work. And by the way, I just want to. I'm thinking about decreasing the number of messages from 10 to 3.
Okay.
Let's have 1.
Okay.
So that we don't wait too long until all of them get processed through Bedrock.
And interestingly, I wonder if we can do this .list function on line 50. It doesn't have a negative label IDs, right? We can't look for uncooked or not cooked, I don't think. Okay, well, I'm going to hit refresh and let's...
I tried refreshing. I've got internal server error, and I'm going to see what happened there. 136. No module named LangChain. Okay, we need to update the
requirements.
Yep, in the layer.
Huh, I'm not getting internal server. I'm just getting it. Yeah, no, now I did. Okay. I'll tell you, having seen you use this, I really need to learn Cursor, and I can see how much more tightly integrated this is versus my workflow, basically Emacs and terminal based. And I use LLMs via terminal, but being able to accept or reject those changes and see that diff, that's really, really neat. I was working on brainstorming a way to kind of hijack the Git diff system in order to do this with my setup, but it would be a long and deep rabbit hole that I don't want to get into.
Yeah, and Cursor is evolving, and they're adding new features, and they have this large developer base providing them feedback.
Yeah, it seems to have real critical mass.
I might get disconnected for a moment. I'll try to switching to a faster Wi-Fi, so that because LangChain really made our layer much bigger.
It pulls in everything, doesn't it? All right. Well, while we wait for Dimitri to reconnect, this has been a really, really fun stream. It is 1:40 a.m. Dimitri's doing all the hard work, but I'm just feel lucky to be learning.
So, yeah, I wonder if it got stalled. Let me check my. Maybe we should just restart SyncWatch. So now we will be getting the labels, and where are we going to get the actions? Oh, okay. It's process messages. But do we do it only once?
Well, I guess what we're going to need to do now is look at that actions array, and then for each thing in the actions array, we want to push it somewhere, like to an SQS queue or something like that, or an event bridge bus. And then that's probably the right place to put it, in an event bridge bus. And then we can have a different Lambda that handles action item dispatch or something like that.
I agree.
I see. Okay, so then what we can do?
I just want to make sure that both our branches return the processed output. So not here, processed output, and we return processed output. Okay. I still don't like the way it's organized, where we have this part here, and then we have this part here. So it's got code duplication. But anyway, let's see how it works. It should be working now.
Okay, I'm hitting refresh, and
it might time out.
Good point. So adding Bedrock adds a little bit of latency, so we might need to increase it over 30 seconds. Again, this wasn't supposed to necessarily be a web app, but let's see. I've got my tab is loading, but haven't seen. I'm not sure what it's doing here. It hasn't timed out. Oh, yeah. Now I've got an internal server error.
it says no model named LangChain.
Yep, that's
In the layer, we have the requirements. We have the LangChain.
okay, syncing dependencies layer, building dependencies layer. This part should take a while, right? Because LangChain should be pulling a lot. Did we get some drift somehow?
Drifts.
Like, is it somehow pointing to the old version of the layer? No, it should be
Could
okay.
be. Yeah, I see LangChain here in the build, so it should be
Okay.
there.
I'm still getting the internal server error. Yep. Let's see. Do you see anything interesting in the logs?
Let's see what we have in the logs. AWS. The latest is here. LangChain. So this is a very simple error. It cannot find the required module.
Do we need to? Is there anything we should do in terms of rebuilding the layer? Because I mean, it looked like it did, but is there a? Do we have that in our watch? Are we doing the no dependencies?
I'm doing it, but it looks like it is rebuilding the layer. But let's just do it with no flash parameter. Let's start this and see how it works now.
Okay, so now it should be taking a LangChain amount of time. Maybe it had some kind of like stub there where it looked like it was doing it, but it was really skipping over it or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I have no good version of why it failed, but we had this option, no dependency layer, which implies that, which actually means that dependency layer should not be updated. But let's see. And what it means by that is that in our Gmail access where the code is, there is no requirements text there. So if we include all the dependencies into the Lambda itself, then you won't be able to open this Lambda in AWS console and see the code because it will be too large for the built-in code editor. But having all these dependencies in the layer makes the code bundle itself really small and load fast in AWS console. And sometimes you want to see the code in the AWS console because it's convenient.
Okay, now this makes sense because like the LangChain was big, so this makes sense now, the amount of time it took for this one time. So now I'm hitting refresh, seeing what's going on here.
We're experiencing a Lambda cold start. because I hit the refresh as well. So now it starts 2 containers for both of us.
Now, this internal server error, is this from last time? I think it's. I'm wondering if we hit a timeout.
LangChain community. What is that? Oh, Bedrock is in the LangChain community. Okay.
Oh, so we need to add
Well,
additional dependencies.
yes, but we are progressing slowly.
Oh, for sure. And so I guess it's quite interesting. If I was watching this, I would still say that there's a lot of expert knowledge that's required to still do this. But I think that if you and I were to do this without AI, I think it would feel very different, and we'd probably spend a lot of time reading Stack Overflow, reading documentation, and I think it would have taken a lot longer. And then, of course, the extract action items. There's no way to do that without AI. I think maybe some of the previous, like maybe the pre-LLM version of Lex might have been a good shot at it, but not really, not compared to what we can do now. But all of the work that we did to get this set up would have not been nearly as flexible. And I think that the idea of being able to do a quick refactor the way we did, it's pretty neat to be able to see that you do that within Compose.
I think there is a reason why there are front-end developers, back-end developers, DevOps, database administrators. And that is, if you try to put all that knowledge into your cache, something else falls off. So you cannot just be everybody. And now companies want the developers to be everybody. And with AI, that becomes possible because you don't need to keep all those tiny little details in your head. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop something while having a really vague understanding of all those little details.
And especially since the stack of anything has gotten so tall, right? There's so many layers. It's not like in the old days where you could really, you could have a compiler where you had a book that could sit on your shelf, which was the entire compiler and how every last bit of the language worked. And that was your whole setup, was this very closed little world. Whereas now we can bring in like an infinite amount of libraries and external things and APIs and services. Claude v3 models are not supported by this LLM.
What kind of a model are we?
I give you Claude 3.5, I thought.
3.5 model ID.
I put the model ID in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Let me close all this. This is where Claude might not be able to help us because it doesn't have a proper knowledge. So it suggests switching to Claude 3 from Claude 3.5.
I can't think of any reason why they would be different. But I usually use Converse. I don't use LangChain. So
let me just quickly jump to one of my older projects and see.
No problem.
How exactly?
And I'm looking for Claude 3.5 Sonnet LangChain community. Just to understand what's going on here.
So first of all, we probably want the chat bedrock model. And then
Chat Bedrock Converse.
yeah, so
Yeah.
this is how I configured. I see we use the same model, but the gateway arcs
Well, I see one called Chat Bedrock Converse. We probably are looking at the same GitHub issue on LangChain.
I think 3.5 only supports the chat model, not this. And now we can
Okay.
region name. We don't need the client at all. We can keep these as they are. I think this needs to be rewritten using the update to use chat bedrock.
See, that Bedrock chat doesn't look right.
Yes, it does not look right at all.
So I found a GitHub issue saying that Chat Bedrock Converse will work with Sonnet.
Update. Yeah, I'm just trying to update it using my prior example that worked.
Oh, okay.
Update based on this example.
That's so cool that you can just put that into the context.
Interesting. Let's see if it produced something workable. Oh, now we have these messages. Look, we have the interaction. We have a system prompt.
That's okay. So now it's using the messages API.
Yep.
Great. Okay, that's what we want to be using. Messages or converse, but that's what we want. That's cool. Look at that.
Again, we've got internal server error 56.
LangChain AWS.
How many versions of LangChain should we have there? Community.
So I'm seeing it as a hyphen. Is it? I mean, I guess. No, you're right. No, yeah, I see it. Sorry.
Should be like this, because again, I copied this from my older project. And LangChain community, maybe both work. I don't know. Let's see. So what would be our next step? I guess we'll make it work now. We're
So
getting
okay.
a list of actions. Yeah, go on.
So I think the next step, I think this would be a good place to end this one. But on the next one, I think what we want to do is push it to an event bridge. And that way we can then have it. Someone could say, okay, based on the action items, you'd want to build a Lambda function that caught action items and then dispatched it. So maybe you're adding them into your to-do list. Like I would use ClickUp and the ClickUp API to add these as a to-do list. And then maybe you'd want to modify the prompt to give a priority to what you're doing. So I'm trying to think of all the different things you'd want to customize. We get the sender, right? So you could say, okay, if this email is from your boss, then increase the priority count versus if it's from, I don't know, someone it wasn't. I don't know. What would you do with it at this point, now that we have it?
So if the idea is to decouple the identification of action items from actually acting upon them, then we could use something like Event Bridge or SQS, SNS, whatever service would fit. We could also just act on them inside this code immediately within the same Lambda invocation.
Mm-hmm.
If the processing is, for example, if we're sure that we will always process them, like there won't be, that all these services will be available.
That's a good question.
Oh, look at that. LangChain does not fit into the...
I've heard of this issue before. Okay.
But I know how to fix it. We need to remove the community and the LangChain. We just need the core and AWS.
Okay.
And we hopefully don't need the community in the Bedrock. Yep. That's the way to do it. If you try to include all the LangChain libraries, you will run out of space.
Now, could you use multiple layers, or are you limited on the sum of all your layers?
I think you'll have to build a container and publish Lambda as a container instead of layers. But I don't like it. It sucks. Basically, you need to have a higher limit for the layer size, because even including a few LangChain libraries already overflows.
Well, talking to some of our Trilogy friends, they were trying to use embed chain, which brings in like all the LangChain things and a bunch of other things. And yeah, they couldn't get the layer size anywhere near a reasonable size.
Yeah, or just build a container and run it on Fargate. Okay, we still have the error, but I believe we're getting closer, not further from the result. Oh, this is interesting. This is something new.
Input to chat prompt template.
Yeah. It's in the Bedrock line 68.
Was it trying to do interpolation of our prompt? Did it kind of mistake our JSON schema for a variable that it was trying to substitute in? Or was it processing an email with no action items?
Just trying input to.
See, I think it was trying to do substitution. So I think maybe to make it simpler for ourselves, we can just describe the JSON in a more verbose way that doesn't embed it. Is that what's
I think
happening?
it was here. The problem was here, not in the action item list.
That's what I mean. Is it's trying to substitute into the prompt, right? So if we go up to the prompt template, right, is it trying to substitute that at the prompt time? Is it somehow reading that as a variable?
Yeah, I think this is what's happening.
So why don't we
Because
just why don't we say return a JSON with the outer key as action item list, and then a list of action items. And that way we don't have this variable substitution issue that we would do some kind of convoluted escaping to get to work.
But maybe I'm just wondering if it can fix the Oh, it suggests just turning every quote into double quote.
Okay, well, let's try it.
Let's try it. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, but when you're using AI, you tend to be switching off your mind and stop thinking about what's happening and just blindly follow. If you got an error, just go back to the code, paste it into chat, and that's what's wrong with it. So this is exactly what I did right now. I didn't try to think what was happening. I just tried sending the error back to the API, to the AI, and see if it can generate something and explain the error to me. Okay, we're still getting but maybe now it's something new. Line 35.
Unmatched square bracket. Oh.
Well,
that one seemed fair.
Yep. Another try. Oh, this is nice. This is where we're getting the.
So this is it tried to call Bedrock.
Yes. So now we need to update the template to get the permissions. So we have this policy.
And so it's amazing that you're not even telling it fix the error. You're just saying this is the error, and it knows, well, you don't want errors in general.
Yep. But I guess we want to let it use any model just for simplicity. And we don't need this policy.
Yeah, because we're not using secrets manager.
So it will now do a complete CloudFormation deployment because we've updated the template.
Oh, okay. So it can't do a hot sync, and plus it has to do some IAM work. It's amazing. I want to get. I don't think this number is published, but I would love to know the amount of requests IAM serves per second. Because if you think about it, like every single service touches IAM, and if you think IAM has to serve basically like the sum total of every AWS call ever made has to go through IAM first. I know they have like that high throughput S3 where you can kind of like temporarily bypass that, but it's 99.9% of all calls to AWS at IAM. I'd love to know how many requests per second that it serves.
There should be a caching. There should be caching of IAM policies. And probably when you update the IAM policy, it invalidates the caches in all other services affected.
What do they say? That's the second hard problem in computer science, right? Bring us back to the beginning. Cache invalidation and naming things. Well, I would much rather work on the naming things part. I like Mail Cooker than figuring out IAM cache invalidation. That had to have been a hard problem.
Yeah, you would need to analyze the policy and see which services are affected, and then go to each service and say, "Oh, hey, this policy has changed. Please forget about the old versions of it."
Hey, I just got a
still
result.
getting the error.
No, I didn't.
You got the result.
Yeah, here, check this out. So this is exactly what we wanted. I have a full text here, and then I have a new array called action items, where it says action, prepare a detailed report, action, assemble cross-functional team for AI integration roadmap, action, collaborate with CISO on security audit. This is great. And block off this date for the retreat. And it's now labeled this as cooked because we've cooked it. That's kind of cool. I'm pretty happy about that.
I think it's you who labeled it as cooked.
I don't
because we haven't yet implemented labeling. Yeah, you assigned the label manually.
Huh. Okay. Actually, I don't think I did, because if I look at this email, long email with action items, let me refresh this display. No, it's not. It's not cooked. Oh, this. Huh. I'm wondering. This must be an error, because that is not cooked. That's strange. I wonder if this is a cached object error, because it's saying that everything is cooked. See that? But this is interesting. It even got the action items for my Google security alert. Action, check if you generated an app password for IMAP AI. Oh, it even had the actions of my two-step verification. Action items of check and secure your Google account. I'm pretty happy with that. The cooked part is wrong, so we need to figure that part out. I'm going to try and have it generate another.
So yeah, we need to. I think it gives you all labels that are there. I mean, it gives you a full list of all labels every time, instead of labels applied to a particular email. So we probably need, there is this logic error in code. But I'm also wondering why my Why doesn't work for me? Maybe my maybe my token expired, something.
Now this is the ame.ai.demo account. I'm going to try and send it a different email. Okay.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't always parse the JSONs. Look, here it says error parsing JSON response. Based on the given email message, there are no clear action items to extract. The phrase "R belong to us" does not provide any actionable tasks or requests. Therefore, I'll return an empty action item list.
I mean, that's fair. I'm happy with that. Yeah, no, it's more the labels, because I can see. Yeah, it's assuming that everything is labeled cooked. Okay, I've sent a new email, and I'm going to hit refresh on mine, and I'm going to see if this works. Now we definitely need to add in some sort of well, I guess if we're going to push this to an event bridge bus, then that's kind of its storage. Okay, this worked. So I sent it a Festivus shopping list, office party, and now it's actually given me a good list, action items, and all these actions. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm wondering why I'm still getting, I'm getting errors, but I can't see them in the logs. Maybe because you're also. But okay, let's try to fix the labels.
Okay.
So we have this label dict where we build a dictionary of IDs and label names. And then we say label names is an array where we fetch the label ID. When we first with label from label dict by label ID.
And that .get is defaulting to its ID if it can't find it for label ID in message.get. Label ID is default empty array. Oh.
But yeah, probably it was good.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm surprised that it's I wonder if output.append is that processed output? Is that in the wrong tab level? That bottom, that processed output?
No, we have this messages.
But don't
and then sorry?
Don't we want to? Oh, I see. Process messages iterates over every message. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes. Does it? Well, what is process messages? Does that iterate over every message? Process messages. Yeah, for message in message. Oh, see that label? Okay, message.labels.append cooked.
Ah, okay. So it actually appends cooked here. Okay. Then it's fine. Then it's.
So we need to add some kind of sync function, I suppose, to sync the labels. But that's good. I mean, this is. because it's appending it to the data structure, right? But it's not pushing it back to Gmail.
As a label in Gmail. So we get the service.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
Service uses lists, execute labels.
So it's getting the label
will
identifier. Yeah.
It's going to create the label if it doesn't exist. Otherwise, it would use its ID. Messages, modify, add label IDs. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that looks right. So now it's taking as argument to the service because it has to talk to Gmail to do this. Okay.
But then it won't process it once we rerun the script because it will have. Oh, okay, but maybe not that bad. We can remove the label manually.
Exactly.
And then
I can send more test emails.
I think we will also need the add labels scope as well.
So we might need to re-authenticate, which is a good test.
Yep.
And we've already added this scope into on the
yes.
Google side. That's already there.
Yes. So let's try removing the cookies.
Okay, I'll switch over to my screen and then I'll go over here, inspect. We go to where? Application, cookies. Let's delete this one here. Okay, and now tell me when I'm free to refresh.
Yep. Oh no, it's only synced the layer. I think you can refresh now because it looks like it has cleared.
Gmail access function. Okay, let's give it a try. All right, so I'm gonna hit refresh. I have no cookie now, so now it should figure this out. Huh. Interesting. Auth URL.
Yeah. So
Wonder what's happening there.
for some reason it should return a 300 response instead of 200 because otherwise it's not redirecting, I guess. Let me update it like this. Because
again,
it gave you off
one of those expert pieces of knowledge that you want to know that's would prevent you from doing this completely blindly. If you didn't know anything about web programming, I think this would still be a pretty high bar to clear if you just simply had access to AI.
Yeah, but didn't work.
I'm
just make a normal redirect to auth URL.
Still waiting. Running copy source.
Yeah, but when you're working with Google authentication, you have to have something for redirects on the web. You cannot just do it fully locally. One way of doing it fully locally is by creating a domain name in your etc hosts. So your local host has now a name. Then you need to set up an HTTPS server, generate some certificates for it. And once you have all that, you can start testing locally.
Well, it makes sense, right? They want to make sure it's secure. They're not just going to hand out some API key that's root access to your Google account. That's how they're going to get themselves in trouble. I'm glad they don't do that. Yeah, it means we have to jump through all these hoops. Looks like I got an internal server error.
Me as well. I think we tried adding the labels. Okay, invalid grant.
I'm going to check the scope just to make sure it's there.
Oh, process messages is missing a positional argument. Service.
I'm trying to figure out where the scopes are. Let's see. OAuth consent scopes.
And this happens in 38, verse 38. Fetch token.
Is the scope is called gmail.labels. Is that
yes?
Okay, is that were we okay? Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Okay, so the scope is there.
Invalid grant request. Bad request.
Hey, I just got something. Looks like mine's back. Let me try a refresh. Internal server error on the refresh.
So what I see in the log, it says error adding cooked label to message. Request had insufficient authentication scopes.
I'm going to try getting rid of my cookies again.
Scopes. Looks like we have these two different branches of code. Labels.
Okay, so if I cleared my cookie, then it worked. But if I hit refresh, I get the server error.
But let me see what's the server error. So last time you had a server error, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. Clearing the cookie and just a fresh login, that works fine. But then if I hit refresh, that's when I got the server error. Wait. it seemed to have worked this time. Let me try it again on refresh. Seems like I might be okay. Yeah, the refresh worked, and okay, I'm gonna try sending a new message. I just have to generate one.
Well, I think we need another scope, not just the label scope, but the scope to modify messages. Let's Let me ask Perplexity how to add labels. Gmail API add. Sorry.
Yeah, because I don't see the cooked labels being applied. But you're doing that. So funny enough, I just sent a new email. I'm hitting refresh. But I think what's happening is that it's rerunning Bedrock on each of these. So I'm pretty sure we're going to hit the 30-second timeout relatively soon. But I think it is essentially do what we want to. Yep, there we go. Yeah, I sent it a new email. It found a new set of action items. This is good.
Perplexity says, ask the Gmail API add label to a message. And it says you will need a Gmail modify.
Modify messages.modify. Okay.
Yeah,
so if I add that to the scope, I think I have to go to. Okay, this is in the credentials. No, this is in the application. It's in the OAuth consent screen, I think. If I edit the app and I go to scopes, and then I have to add or remove scopes. And what is it called? Oh, I have to just, I could go find it. It was the Gmail.
Gmail.modify. It's just modify.
Got it. Okay. I have updated this scope. I think that's fine. Gmail auth labels. Let me make sure I did that right. Gmail.labels. Yeah, okay. Yes, okay. So this is a restricted scope. I'm just doing a save and continue. And that looks okay. Okay. All right. That should work now.
And redeploying. Okay, now we can remove the cookies and give it a try.
Okay, so I'm going to inspect, go to my application. I'll put my screen on. Oh, I don't have cookies. Okay, so here's this, what I'm seeing. I have this cookie. I'm going to clear that. I'm going to close that. I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, so now it should ask me when I hit continue, read, compose, and send emails from your Gmail account. So we've modified that scope. Hit continue. And now let's pretty print this. So now if I go into here, if I refresh this, it should say cook. Oh, yes, look at that. Darth Vader to-do list is now cooked. Now, interestingly, it only cooked the most recent one.
That's because I've put a limit on the number of messages we fetch. It's just one.
I see. Okay. Yep, that's okay.
I can increase it to 10, and we can also increase the timeout in the template.
Yeah, let's double that, and let's do one more. And I think if this works, then I think we should call it a night, and pick this up in terms of the event bridge the next day. Oh, I got an internal server error, but I think that's because I got you in the middle of a deploy.
So, yeah, max results 10.
Okay, and I'm going to prepare another email.
We could actually. Oh, I'm just wondering if we could append. Probably couldn't append any text to the message text. You can't modify the message body.
That would probably be bad.
Yeah.
All right, I've got another message coming up. Okay, so sending this message. It is how to dress as Luke Skywalker. So I add this to stage. Let's hit refresh. Interesting, that hasn't come through. Oh, well, let's see. Now I've got 5 emails in my inbox. So now I'm hitting refresh. This should be fetching 10. And here we go. I've got the first one is how to dress as Luke Skywalker. I've got this long email, and it's giving me an array of action items. Find a long white long sleeve shirt, acquire black or dark navy vest, find tall brown boots, perfect your cocky grin. I think it's slightly confused. This is interesting. Acquire a low slung holster for your right leg. It might think it's Han Solo, but that's okay. There's room for improvement. This is pretty good. It has extracted my action items, and then let's check back here. If I refresh here, all of my messages are cooked.
It worked for you, but for me, it did not work for some reason. But maybe I'll have to. Just,
do you have a different email address that you're?
I'm using my corporate email.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Cooking my corporate email.
Well, let's not put that on screen. But it's kind of cool. We can read them, and interestingly, we can read them without modifying their public read or unread status. Wow. Well, I think it's a pretty cool place to stop. So we've got this JSON with action items. From here, the next step is going to be dispatching them into EventBridge, and then we can write some really cool EventBridge catcher. We can add them into a to-do list. I think part of this is also going to be parameterizing this over. Maybe we can have a system where each user has their custom prompt. There's a few steps between here and getting rich on the new startup of email AI, but I think it's pretty cool, right? Over the course of a couple hours on a weekend, having the template of scanning email as they come in, extracting a to-do list, and then putting it somewhere.
Yeah, I think what we did today is eating the frog. You know that pattern when you do the most nastiest thing, the first thing in the morning. And there was this book, Eat the Frog, which said the main idea of the book was that you do the thing that you don't want to do the most, you do it the first. So Google authentication is probably the frog here. And as soon as we are past it, everything else should be more straightforward. And
Interesting. All right. Well, now that we've eaten the frog, let's enjoy the next course, which should be far more palatable. And we will do that on a future hackathon coming up soon. I want to summarize this one, get it edited, get it out there, and maybe we can kind of publish. I'll clean up the code, or we can publish a little code sample. I think this will be pretty fun. We've eaten the frog, gone from Google authentication to Bedrock. Pretty neat. How to pass all of your messages into Bedrock, and I really like this idea of using the label to maintain the state, because if the label is almost like a little database, if you don't mind your labels being polluted a little bit, and you could probably use like a 1-character label or an emoji label. Do you know if email supports emoji labels? I wonder if you could.
never tried that.
Let's see. I'm going into my labels right now. I think if you had an emoji label, I'm doing it right now. Can you make it an emoji? You can.
Really? Can you show it? How it looks?
Let me put it. Yep. Let me put this on the screen. There you go. So you have this emoji label. So I think that's what we do. We have an emoji label that just means AI has processed it. That's not too annoying, much more than a big text one. We can have an emoji label that is cooked. Okay, I like this. All right, audience. Dimitri, thank you so much. You did all the hard work today, and it was fun being along for the ride, and also just seeing how you use Cursor was really inspiring. Really enjoyed this hackathon. We'll get this out there soon. Thank you so much, Dimitri, for spending this time. And we're going to have the second part where we clean this up, generalize it, productize it, and it should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with this.
Yeah. Thank you, Stefan. And thank you, Claude, for helping us out so
For
much
sure.
today.
And Cursor. All right. Have a good one.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Yeah. Bye.